Hello, my fiber friends, and welcome to the Unseen Strands podcast, a podcast where I, Mo, your visually impaired fiber artist, will kind of relate things to my experience as to crafting as a blind person. And you'll find out it's not really all that different from your world, except for I might just not be able to see exactly what I'm doing. As I said last week, I'm back. It's been an interesting road over the last 4 years. I kind of briefly touched on that last week when I recorded. And part of that was a health issue that I didn't know about. Apparently it had been a health issue since I had my twins back in 2016. And that just kind of bloomed into issue when, 8 years later. And so I probably actually didn't have the energy to be on here with you guys because of that. And not so much because I wasn't crafting or wasn't doing things. It was just I could not keep up with life. And there's reasons for that I just was not aware of. And so anyways, I have been back to crafting. I've really been enjoying watching everyone's videos for the videos of the people that I know that are still up and uploading. And thank you, all of you that have come back and started to watch me again. It's kind of exciting to see the YouTube Studio numbers go up when you're used to ignoring YouTube Studio altogether. It's been on my phone for years. It's been on a few phones without ever actually being used. And so yeah, back to using that and back to just having fun with you all. So I thought today I'd kind of talk about some of the things that I'm getting back into now that I'm back here, back at crafting. It's kind of interesting to see. It used to be like Ravelry was where everybody went to do crafty stuff. I'm not sure. I know Discord is something I haven't personally gotten into. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be fairly accessible. But that's somewhere I know that I need to kind of dabble into if I want to kind of hang out with all of you and participate in things. There is still a few people on Ravelry, so that's just a nice, convenient place to sort all your things. I say, even though I know visually it might not be as appealing for some people or as difficult for some people, it's not an issue for me. I have some reverted coloring. I use high contrast, and that actually makes it really usable. And my limited use of my mouse and screen reader actually makes Ravelry one of the most usable platforms that I've seen out there, even though I know there has been issues with Ravelry in the past. I'm not sure where they stand today. I've kind of turned a blank stare towards a lot of the drama of the past and Ravelry and just use it for getting free patterns. A lot of patterns that I've never used, a lot of patterns that still have errors and things, and that I go ahead and create my own pattern from the pattern. But yeah, still using that. Notice that there has been some movement in some Facebook groups. I'm not so good with Facebook groups. Part of that is kind of because the format likes to hide things from you, especially in a group or pages aspect, unless you're paying for those boosted posts. And yeah, the income that I'm getting from here, which is absolutely zero since I don't have enough to make anything on YouTube as of yet, maybe someday. But right now, that's nothing. So yeah, we're not going to be boosting posts to reach out to other people. But that's kind of my experience. I was kind of curious if anyone knew, are there still any Zoom groups that get together? I know that one group that used to get together, the person that did run that particular line or whatever you would like to call it had passed away. So I didn't know if there was a new group out there, that was meeting and kind of drop in status. So if you do know of one, I'd love to know, and just send me a comment and we'll be in touch. But some other things I've been doing, I lately just started getting into, I've been cleaning up around my craft space, and that means getting into some scrubber making. The nylon net scrubbers, I do it a little different than other people. Of course, this is going to all change with, of course, the Joann's closing on us kind of thing. And I don't know. I'm sure I can still get net. I mean, I know I can still get net at, Hobby Lobby. I don't know if anywhere else is really going to carry it. I know that Walmart has carried some in the past, but it was usually typically more expensive than going to Hobby Lobby or Joann's for simply that fact of Joann's and Hobby Lobby typically would run some kind of sale. It was never worth buying if it wasn't on sale, but that's where I'd buy it. I'd buy it in 8 yards increments. That is a lot of net to get messed up. And believe me, I still have some net somewhere in my house, probably in the office, quote, craft storage area of the house. But I'll be probably going through that, cutting some more up. I was asked to do an event. It's not a crafting event, so to speak, but it would be kind of something where I think having the scrubbers might be an item that people would be interested in maybe buying or seeing for themselves. So yeah, I would cut 8 yards of net into strips and then, crochet that up. And this was all before I did any knitting, so I've never ever knitted with it. That'd be kind of an interesting thing to try out today. But I have bags of net still and just some random pieces laying around, so I was just making those up, trying to get them out of being unused yarn and making those into things. So I did that this week. I've made one complete scrubber. I have 2 cases that just need stuffed, and then I just never got to finishing those ones up. And then I did finish a pair of socks, hooray for me, and that was the Rapture colorway by Passion Yarns. That yarn, I believe, I'm not sure if it was a May 2024 buy from the Shepherd's Harvest Festival in Minnesota. That is where I usually get Passion Yarns, but I've gotten a few Passion Yarns throughout the years, including the first year we went up there, and so I don't remember if that was specific to last year's haul or if that was a couple of years ago. But that is a pair of socks that I finished. You can see those up on my Facebook and Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram at Unseen Strands and on Facebook at hookedonmos/Unseen-Strands. And let's see, what else have I done? I'm currently working on a pair of socks for my husband, and those ones, the only difference between my husband and my middle son's socks is that the middle son has a slightly smaller sock. I decided because he does have kind of a larger foot build that I was going to move up from. Typically, I start off with a 65 for socks for myself stitches around, and these are all knitted socks. So typically I start with a 65, and for them I've moved up to 70 stitches because I like a 3x2 ribbing. I like the 3 because that is easier for me to count the rows if I decide that I have gotten off count and then I need to actually check and see where I'm at on my rows. They're easier to just feel with your fingernail, so to speak. I cannot visually see them at all, but that's how I do that. And I do have a row counter that my husband 3D printed for me that I put charms on to tell me which row I'm on. But sometimes I get caught up in meetings or listening to people or doing other things, and I forget to move that stitch marker. So as a great point in case with one of the pairs of socks that I finished for my husband this year, it was a little short because somebody probably moved the wrong stitch marker and didn't realize it. Because I have one stitch marker that marks how many rows, as in the ones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I have another one that is 10, 20, 30, 40. And, I must have moved the wrong one or thought I was doing something clever and didn't turn out to be so clever. And so the socks that I'm working currently on for my husband are the Beach Blast Barbie colorway. And yes, he will wear them even though they have pink in them. He loves to pick out the yarn, so he actually picked that out. And I don't remember who this yarn is by. I want to say it was also a acquisition from the Shepherd's Harvest Festival, and that was bought last year. But I cannot remember who that particular one is by. And that one is by Interlacements. I'm not as familiar with that particular indie dyer, but that is who it is from. One more thing I should add is my husband and I make a lot of jokes about the Barbie movie, so to speak. And so he does play guitar, and so every now and then he just comes upstairs and plays at me. So for those that may have watched the Barbie movie, that's just a funny note from our lives into that particular, why these socks are kind of special. So, moving onward, I decided, since I was, catching up with people on YouTube videos and adding a few new ones as they came in through the autoplay, there was some different videos that were different tutorials, and I'm like, I've never really done these tutorials, especially because I really like things written down for patterns, but not always are the patterns right. Like the hat that I made my one son this year, that particular one was a stitch off, and I'm like, I'm sure that somebody was just not proof editing, reading over their pattern properly, but nobody else seemed to notice that the stitch count or the numbers that you knitted before you did the cable, was it the solid? I don't remember. But it was a stitch off, and you do that over 8-10 repeats, you get quite a few stitches off. So that was just kind of entertaining to me that nobody bothered to notice that there was that little error in that pattern. And I don't know where I was going with that story. Sorry. So yeah, I decided that I was going to try one of these patterns. So I was doing this is a new, YouTuber for me, but the Yarn Addict. I was doing one of his latest ones, which was the Textured Vibes, throw pattern, something to that effect. And I realized, I'm not sure, but I think that maybe this pattern is supposed to have a chain here. And, it's always so pleasant. And this isn't a diss to him, because I'm sure it's not something he's ever even thought about. But the video just really set its tone when I click into the video, and it's like, okay, now we're going to start. I'm going to create a slip knot like this. See how I did that? No, dear, I did not see that. I'm sorry. But I do know how to create a slip knot, so we're okay. But that's a big reason why I did create, if you didn't see, I've created a new little playlist here, and I do have some other clips that I'm going to add into that playlist. But I'll get to that in a second. Let me finish the story. Sorry. But I was watching that, and I'm like, I think there should be chains in between some of the stitching. And maybe it's not supposed to, maybe it is, I don't know. But I was like, this is why I really like it written down, because at least then I have something to refer to. Is this supposed to have a chain between these things that you just didn't mention? You just said, see, I did it like this. Yeah. So back to my playlist. We're going to start, and like I said, I do have some clips of some other very crafty, very talented crafty teacher people in the blind and visually impaired. Some very crafty people in the visually impaired community that have done a lot of teaching on these things, like how to describe stitching. I've taken out one of their clips, and we're going to try that and take some clips. I'm waiting for approval from one of them. I tried reaching out to them on Messenger, and I just haven't heard back that way. So we'll go ahead and I'll see if I can find their email or find somebody else that can connect us and just get that approval, so I can get some of those really descriptive ways of how to do stitches for you. And that's going to be in the Tactile Threads Feeling Stitchy playlist, and you'll be able to follow along and try and create your own stitches and things if you have found yourself just trying to start crocheting or knitting. These two ladies that will start off are in the crochet world. I'll probably have to reach out if I go into the knitting world to those other people, but ACB Crafters, again, is a place that I've done a lot of this. I can't say learning, because I'm not really learning at this stage, but just to connect with other crafters and watching them teach other crafters. I did meet with one of them. I didn't even think to reach out to her. I should reach out to her too. And I started to do some loom knitting over the last, probably 3 years ago now. But I did do some loom knitting there, and she would be another one that I could probably ask to do some of her descriptions, because she, again, was somebody who was just so much more eloquent in the way that they can describe how to do things than I can. But listening to that video that Juan made me go, I can make my own stuff. I, might not be as good with the descriptions of specific stitches, but I definitely think that I could do a little bit better job in describing how to make some of these stitch patterns. And a stitch pattern in and of itself is not copyrightable. Just the actual pattern is copyrightable. So if it's just how to create a stitch, and maybe I don't know where the line is there, but since it's not, as far as my computer could tell, written down anywhere, and I'm kind of assuming and creating my own thoughts of it, I'm like, I could do this and make my own actual physical item. So I'm starting off with a washcloth, and that might be somewhere that I do my own descriptive video for you of how to create this washcloth with the textured vibes kind of pattern, but using, my version of it versus the version that other crafters have used. I don't know if that's somewhere else or if he just made it up himself or where exactly it came from, but it kind of seemed to me that it was just kind of a pattern stitching, and a lot of that is out there all over the place and very old and not used. So, but getting back to doing that, I was playing with a crochet hook that I picked up this last March. We got to take a 10-day vacation with our oldest child over to Spain, and we got to Spain, and they apparently in Europe, some of you European people can kind of correct me on this, but you don't seem to use washcloths and for your face and things in the shower. And that is something, like, I can get around it, but my husband is very particular and very specific and definitely wants to wash his face with a cloth. And so we get there and there's no washcloths. And this first hotel we were at was just kind of interesting all in of itself. So we weren't sure if there was going to be washcloths in other places, but there just happened to be a craft store next door. So guess who got to go over to a Spanish craft store? Although I will say there wasn't particularly anything super special in this craft store. There was no hand-dyed specialty yarns. What I did get was a bamboo cotton blend, though. That was a DMC, I think, yarn. And so that is something I've at least never seen here. It might be available some places, but I haven't seen it here. And I was able to pick up what I thought was a G hook, because it says G on it, but it is a 4.0 millimeter. And I was looking at my crochet hooks here at home, and at least the one that said G on it that my husband read was a 4.5. So all this time, since I've come back from Spain, I've been using this 4.0 G hook and thought it was, I thought things were coming up a little tighter than usual, but I also wasn't using a lot of stuff that I've been using, at least recently. Like, I've made tons and tons of scrubbers, but it's been a while, and sometimes that works up tighter just depending on the net, because some of the nets are finer or thicker than others, and just how they cut up. And, the strips aren't a super scientific thickness. They're hand cut, so they have variance in them. And so I just thought it was the net and other things. I didn't realize that the whole hook was a whole, 0.5 millimeters off of the other hooks that I have. And I'm not sure. I don't remember if the 4.5, I know there were 2 hook sizes that are unusual, that come in like the 10 sets, but aren't lettered. And if they just put a G on it, even though if it's 4 or 4.5, I don't remember, guys. I love my G hooks. That's all I know. I know that I've used a G for years and years and years on things that you're not supposed to use a G hook on, just because I really like the G hook. So yeah, I'm just very used to using a G hook. Once in a while, I will use an H hook, and then for my scrubbers and things, I do move to an I for the ones that use 2 strips at the same time. If it's a really thick yarn, I don't mind using an I hook, but I would prefer to use my G hook or smaller. I like ease. I like teeny tiny yarns, and that makes me a very not traditional crocheter. But like I said, I am looking at doing this tactile threads section of my channel, and so maybe the textured vibes washcloth will come in shortly there. We'll see how you guys like that. If you think it's a good idea, if you think it's a bad idea, we'll find out. But I am using the 4.5 hook to remake that again. Or no, I'm using the H to work that pattern. Sorry. Because I didn't know that I was using a 4, not a 4.5. And usually I think a lot of my items had been made with the 4.5. Unless the clover hooks are different. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've really done any crocheting, because most of my crafting has been knitting, and that's on my size 0 knitting needles. Again, teeny tinies, because I was using 2s, I think, in the beginning, or is that the 2 millimeter is the 0? And I think it's the 2s is where I started, and then I've gone down to the 0, which I like much better. I'm getting a much better product out of for my liking, but that's why I use so many stitches on my socks. And anyways, guys, I'm running low on time. It is about time for the kids to get home from school. Actually, I think I have a few extra minutes because I forgot it is a game night, or in other words, my kids are in esports, or at least the older 2, and they have a game tonight. So, so far they're undefeated, and we're hoping all good things for them. But real quick before my littles come in, I have actually gotten back into spinning. I took some hand spinning, my drop spindle over to my mother-in-law's for Easter, and I went, man, I really miss my wheel. And I had finished at Sticks and Strings this year, my first go around at a Bombshell Dye Works braid. I want to say it had Targhee in it. I don't remember if it's 100% Targhee, but it was a really pretty color. I don't remember what it is, but I finished the first ply of that, and I was like, I need to ply this. I didn't break it off into different things, so I'm probably going to just do a chain ply. And lo and behold, this is such a funny story. So I got my wheel shortly before I kind of took a crafting hiatus, and so I've had my eel wheels at 6 for few years now, because I was part of the original go at that, and Kickstarter, sorry. And so I was part of the original group, and I was like, man, I don't have anything to ply with that. Well, I went going through my box of stuff that I got when I originally got that, and on the site, he had a lazy Kate. I'm like, oh, I'm probably just going to have to buy these lazy Kates that he makes for these now. And yeah, totally have the lazy Kate that comes for that. I didn't even realize it because I had never plied anything, with that particular wheel. I feel so bad because I've had it for so long, and my eel wheel was at the 5, my first spinning wheel. I love that thing. I loved it so much, but it definitely had its little quirks and issues, and, it was kind of on its way out. So I was very happy to get this new wheel, but I just haven't done so much spinning. So yeah, got it out last night, as a matter of fact, and started, chain plying something. So we'll see how that goes here in the near future. I do need to wrap this up here. So just kind of wandering down my little thoughts here for the week. What am I working on? Let's see. I'm going to finish up that washcloth pattern and see if I can actually make it a pattern for you. And then, let's see, I'm going to try and clean up some of this stuff around my desk and see what it turns into. Again, having lots of fun going just through Ravelry threads and finding different things to do. I was kicking around the idea. I kind of like the thought I had here, and I just haven't formulated all the way, but doing some kind of along, not with prizes or anything, because I'm just not at that stage right now, but doing some kind of along that was the absolute zero. And so the idea that I had behind this is everyone's always like, oh, I want to use up all my stash, but it's just kind of like absolute zero, and it's not a number that actually physically exists because you can't get to zero. So that was kind of my thinking there. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you like to do it? It's because, we theorize that we're going to use all the stuff we bring in, but we know it's really not going to happen. And so, yeah, I was just like, let's just do a make where you make what you want, you make what you can, and you have the idea that you're going to use up what you have and not use more than, or bring in more than you can use. But we all know that doesn't happen. So anyways, leave me some comments. Tell me what you think about this idea. Again, nothing, with quote unquote prizes, at least not at this stage. I don't know. I would assume we would do it for like a year or something. I'm not going to do any quick turnaround. So then prizes may come in handy, down the road. Let's see where we get to. But yeah, again, I've got to wrap this up because I've got to get back to being mom and doing mom things. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little edition of the Unseen Strands podcast. And I would so appreciate it if you could hook the like button and subscribe. We'll talk to you later, guys.